Good evening. I'd like to call this Olivet City Council meeting to order. It is Tuesday, September 12th. We are in the City Hall at 1140 Dealman Road at our Olivet City Center. Roll call, please.
Mayor Weil,
Yes.
Chairman Pro Tem Waldman,
Present.
Councilmember Clark,
Here.
Councilmember Carl,
Here.
Councilmember Knox.
Absent with excuse. Next item, please.
Item 2, communications. We have no written communications.
As many people know, this past week, our community experienced a tremendous loss, and it's been a very sad time for all of us. And there was a horrific accident of 3 young men who were sophomores in high school, at Ladue High School. And I would like to take a moment of silence to remember Demetrius Ingram, Dion Robinson, and Johnny Yersey. We wish their families strength and courage as they face the days ahead. Our hearts go out to everyone, their friends and their family, and the community at large for this loss. Thank you. Next item, please.
Item number 3, city manager's report.
All right, good evening, everyone. One of the first things I would like to say is that we had to make an addition to the agenda today. You should have gotten an email this afternoon. We added number 9, which is the MoDOT Greenway TAP supplemental agreement. It was inadvertently left off the agenda, but because it's timely that we get this agreement finalized and sent to MoDOT so that this project can start. This is the project that's doing road work at Olive and Dealman Industrial and North Price, and Mr. McGregor will give us further details later in the meeting. But it's timely, and we need the board to, the council to make a decision on that this evening. So I apologize for the error, but we were able to get it on the agenda this afternoon. So I will start with the 5 Oaks on Warson and the Warson Park dashboard. Work is continuing, and we got good news today. The playground was delivered probably about 3 weeks ahead of what we thought they were going to be able to get in there and deliver it for us. So we were really excited that the indoor playground is up and being delivered. That's probably the last major piece of installation that needs to happen. We're continuing to look at those potential change orders. They're pretty stable. We've not really had any additional ones since the last meeting. And then we've got the office furniture came in for the cubicles for the park staff, the flooring for the aerobics room, the flooring for most of the lobby, and the fitness areas have all also gone in. So we do have some photos for you. So that's the splash pad. You can kind of see the water there. This is the one side of the fitness center. So you'll get big windows to look out upon as you're exercising. That's the front of the building with Olivet Green, of course. And then, are there any questions about 5 Oaks?
No, I'm thrilled that the indoor playgrounds arrived. That's very exciting.
Yeah, and I drove by today and I saw the exercise equipment through the windows. Yeah.
Good.
I've been peeking through the windows too.
Opening day is the end of October. And then the ribbon cutting, I think the date's moving. First Sunday in November, which is the 5th. Yeah, is the ribbon cutting. Yep. The gateway at I-170, familiarly known as Olive Crossing. So Greg Yowitz, the developer, has given us an update. The new things are in bold. So at the very bottom, they have finally removed that last Ameren pole right there at Olive and Hilltop. We were all very excited about that. So sidewalks have been poured and cured. They're going to start working on the lights and the controls, so the pedestrian controls this week. And then they're working with MoDOT on the retaining wall. We hope to have that started this month. Lot 3 is the retail commercial strip, which is where Paris Baguette will be. So they're working on other leases, and then they're working with Carlos and his staff on getting permits and their building plans reviewed. Lot 4 is the apartment complex. So they have received temporary occupancy. Individuals have started moving in. They have 17 units occupied, and then they're really starting that lease up work. And then Mr. Yowitz told us that he anticipates the work on the apartment complex to be done by the beginning of October. Lots 1 and 2, he is working with a potential tenant, so that is still under negotiation, and it's not unusual for those negotiations to take a while. And the tenant is working on engineering, so I take that as a good sign that they are committed to that. So they're just going to continue to work through those negotiations, and I'm sure as soon as they all have signed the documents, they will let us know who's going to occupy that space. And then the office, again, he has sent out multiple proposals to prospective tenants. And so he's shopping the office space. And then the hotel. So he's working on a design change approved by Marriott, and so he's waiting for Marriott to come back and okay that. Any questions on Olive Crossing? All right. Upcoming events. So Coffee with the Mayor is tomorrow morning at 8:45 here at the City Center. Our guests will be Beth Quindry with Shockey Consulting and the Planning and Community Development Director, Carlos Drejos. They're going to talk about where they are in the process of the new comprehensive plan. They're about 2/3 of the way finished. And they're going to talk about the survey. And this is also later on in this presentation, but there's a community survey out. I would encourage everybody to either come by City Hall, get a paper copy, or go to the website and take the survey. Stacy Starry Night is September 23rd from 7 to 9. And then save the date for Turkey Trot. We've had over 100 registrants already for Turkey Trot. So that's, of course, Thanksgiving morning at 8 o'clock at Stacy Park. So register, and it's the 10th anniversary, so you can purchase a special vest this year. And I am told there are a number of previous year's shirts that would be for sale. So if you have lost yours, need to replace it, we might have your size come by and pick one up.
Or if you want to make a quilt.
Or if you want to make a quilt. Absolutely. We have a number of those. News around town. So the Villa Park Splash Pad, if you have not been out there, this weekend is your last chance for the season. They are closing it down on Sunday, and then they're going to be doing some work. You're going to see some construction work that happens there at the splash pad. So come out this weekend and enjoy it. And then we have, of course, Five Oaks on Warson. The Parks Department is taking registrations for memberships, residents, non-residents, rental rates. They would be happy to talk to you about membership. And towards the last part of October, they're going to have an opportunity to let people walk through Five Oaks so you can see what you're investing in with your membership and all of the amenities. So reach out to the park staff for that. And then lastly, upcoming meetings, Parks and Rec is the 20th, Planning and Community Design Commission is the 21st, Economic Development the 25th, City Council will be back the 26th, then a work session in October 3rd, and planning and community design on October 5th. And I just have two last just little announcements. First of all, I would like to congratulate Tanya Welsh, who is our accountant, and she has recently been promoted to a senior accountant. She's not here, but I did want to acknowledge her accomplishment. And 'tis the season to start thinking about the holidays. So I will be sending the council an email to talk about meeting schedules in December and January. The second regular council meeting in December would actually be December 26th. So we're thinking about penciling in the 19th, and if there's something that needs to be done, we would have a meeting. If not, we would, let you know. And then January, the first work session meeting in January would be the 2nd of January. Probably not the best day to have a work session. So I'll be sending you some alternate dates for January. So please check your email for that. Any questions?
Chairman Pro Tem.
Thank you. I do have a follow-up question, Ms. Shackley. Five Oaks walkthrough in October. How are we going to inform the public of that walkthrough?
I think it's an ongoing, it's not just one particular day. It's going to be an ongoing as they, there's going to be like a soft opening and.
Sign up for tours on individual time slots, pushing that out to this newsletter. It will also be going out with constant contact, and it will start in social media. So you'll be able to reserve a specific time for a very short tour of the entire building and have that information.
Yeah, and so you may not necessarily see those pushed out on social media yet, as we are wanting to make sure that the building is 100% safe for the public, so that date may.
I'm concerned that the recording couldn't hear you from your chair, so could you come up and say it in the microphone, please? Thank you.
Beverly Tucker Knight, Parks and Recreation Director. So we will be having basically sales tours of the facility for people to come in and take a walkthrough and see if it's something of interest to them. We will have the big open house on the first Sunday in November, and that'll start around noontime. And we'll have a whole series of activities and events that'll activate all those different spaces and have lots of things in different time periods. So that timeline will push out as we get closer. But those sales tours, we think, will be towards the last 2 weeks of October. It really depends on, is the playground 100% done? We just can't have any construction activity going on while that's happening. Yeah. And then on the 21st of October, sneak peek Saturday, we are doing the volunteer installation of the native plant garden at the very front of the building. So that's very exciting. So we'll start pushing that out as well.
And
Thank
what's the
you.
date for that?
That's, I believe, Saturday, the 21st of October. We've ordered the plants, so that's very exciting.
Thank you for coming forward. Are there any other questions for Ms. Yackley? Great. Next item, please.
Item number 4, city council reports.
I will start to my right with Chairman Pro Tem.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. In regards to the most recent tragedy, I along with you attended the visual at Stacy Park in honor of the 3 young men that will now forever be 15. Much appreciate the support that the city has given, and the people throughout this community and every other place that are doing donations to help these families with what needs to be taken care of to honor them and give them a safe and good resting place. On the other hand, we also had our Planning Community Design Commission meeting in the beginning of September, and that was a joint Planning Community Design Commission meeting with the City Council. And as City Manager indicated, Ms. Quigley with Shockley Consulting provided a current summary of the ongoing input from the surveys. from the subgroup that has been a part of the community and the shareholders. And then, as noted by the city manager, we have one more round of survey summary questions, and it really is wrapped around some of the information feedback they've gotten from the first two surveys, from environmental to green energy to diversity to housing. And so, you know, with my fellow council members, we encourage everybody to please participate and take part in it. And I encourage those under 35 and people of color to please participate and give us your thoughts. And with that, Madam Mayor, that's all I have to report.
Mr. Carl?
The Economic Development Commission meeting for last month was canceled. This month, if I'm not mistaken, we have a tour arranged. Or yes, we have a tour arranged for the apartment complex we were just talking about. So that's my report.
Mr. Clark?
I too,
Councilmember Clark?
thank you. I too was at the joint meeting as well. I found it to be very productive. I agree with Councilmember Waldman that we need to make sure that everyone be proactive in taking part in the decision making with the city. It's very important that we have a leadership that is reflective of this community. So yes, I am encouraging people of color, if you're watching this, please come forward and give your opinions, make your opinions known. It is very valuable. The perfect city is always under construction. And I think it's important that we all take part in making sure it goes that way. Thank you. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. All four of us were at that meeting, and so I have nothing further to share at this time because I will be at the Parks meeting in on tomorrow night. No, that's not tomorrow, a week from tonight. The 20th. Okay, very good. Got a little confused. Okay, are there any other questions for one another? Okay, next item, please.
Item number 5, hearing from citizens.
I just want to remind people, whether you're on Zoom or in the room, there's a limit of 3 minutes and you're presenting to the council. We're taking into consideration your thoughts, but we don't respond. We just listen. And then if you want us to get back to you, you can let us know. And if you want us to email or send you a letter or a phone call. So I have one card right now. If there's any others, then you have to raise your hand on Zoom or fill out a card. So at this time, I have Stephanie Todd.
Hello, it's Stephanie Todd.
Stephanie Todd, 7 Heather Hill Lane. And I'm here because there's a fair number, there's a large group of Olivet citizens who are interested in having some kind of ordinance pertaining to tree preservation in Olivet. Because we have a lot of great mature trees, and it's just very disheartening to see when these developers go in and they just clear cut the lots, like for example on the other side of across the street here from City Hall. And I brought this issue up to PCDC in June, and at that time it was recommended that I wait for the new city manager, who is now here, and then that I bring this up to city council. So that's why I'm here tonight. And you know, and I looked into this issue a little more, and most of the cities all around us have pretty good ordinances about preserving trees. And you know, I know I'm realistic. We're not going to save every tree, but I would just like to, you know, have to look at that. And for instance, Creve Coeur paid an outside contractor to write a tree management plan. And they were able to pay for it from a grant they received from the Missouri Department of Conservation. And New City has really good tree ordinances. Kirkwood does, Clayton does. They all recognize, you know, the importance of trees and just, you know, and how they make a city look in you know, in addition to all the climate and flooding benefits. So, you know, I understand that this topic will probably take a lot of discussion. So if you would like, I can come back and give a presentation if at a working session, or, you know, I'm just opening it up that, you know, I can help and I can show you some of the research I've done and work with you if you want a working session to cover it.
Thank you.
Okay.
Hello, Council. I'm Kate Hellman. I live at 800 North Price Road. I also go by Kate Pashon. And Kate Pashon Hellman, just to clear up any confusion that might be out there. I'm here because Stephanie said a bunch of people in Olivet are interested in preserving trees. And so here as a representative of some of those bunch of people, I am a leader in a new Olivet focused group called the Olivet Sustainability Advocates. We have about 70 members now, and we've been doing this thing for about a year, a little bit over a year, working on sustainability topics. And even as we've just initially got started, one of the big things that we heard from a lot of people was concern about development, and specifically the impact that development has on trees and on habitat. And so any way that we can preserve the trees that don't need to be taken down when development occurs, and any way that we can preserve habitat, preserve biodiversity, that's really important to me as an individual, but also to the members of the Olivet Sustainability Advocates. So appreciate the council or PCDC, however this kind of hopefully unfolds, taking some time to consider what might work for the city of Olivet. And just what we can do, especially in line with some of the things that we've heard with the new strategic plan, the new comprehensive plan. It seems like there's a good opportunity to develop something in this area for our city. Thank you.
Thank you. Next item, please.
Item number 6, Bill 3013, an ordinance approving an agreement with St. Louis County, Missouri for placement of license plate recognition cameras. First reading.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and Council. Beth Andruski, Chief of Police. Up here again one more time to talk to you about Flock. Hopefully this is the last time for a little while. So we have just one more little hump to get over with our Flock camera installment. So again, this is regarding Bill 3013, which is an ordinance of the City of Olivet, Missouri, approving an agreement with St. Louis County, Missouri for placement of license plate recognition cameras on a St. Louis County right of way. So just going back to January, council approved placement for 6 cameras, and one of those 6 cameras is going to be on a St. Louis County right of way, which is the Dealman, kind of by the train track area, just for reference. So again, it is a requirement of St. Louis County that Olivet and any other city using St. Louis County right of ways has an agreement or adopt an ordinance approving an agreement with St. Louis County for the placement of the cameras. So St. Louis County will not execute this agreement until this ordinance is passed. So there is a sample of an agreement letter between St. Louis County and Clayton, just as a reference to what that would look like. So unless there's any questions, I would just ask the council to vote to approve Bill 3013 Again, passing an ordinance to allow the city of Olivet to enter into an agreement with St. Louis County for placement of the license plate recognition cameras on their right of way.
Are there any questions? Councilmember Carl?
Just a quick one. So I assume we're gonna place some on Missouri right of way too. And we don't need this with them.
So no, everything through MoDOT has already been completed and we do not need anything further from them. And then there's also one camera that would be on an Ameren utility pole and everything's taken care of through them. This is just a St. Louis County requirement.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any other questions?
I want to ask the city attorney a question. Mr. Martin, you saw the ordinance drafted by Clayton, and the ordinance that we have is what you recommended as our draft ordinance
I'm sorry for.
for the license plate recognition cameras?
Yes, I have seen it and it's fine.
Oh,
This is
okay,
actually St. Louis County's template with complete.
sure, I understand. I just want to make sure that you, as our attorney, you are okay with that.
I'm okay with
You know, I'm legally minded.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, thank you, sir. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
I'll be happy to entertain a motion.
Madam Mayor, I make a motion that the city count that we vote to approve Bill 3013 passing, passing an ordinance which will allow the city of Olivet to enter into an agreement with St. Louis
It's only
County.
first reading, right? I'm sorry to interrupt.
Oh,
No.
okay, sorry.
No, it does not say first reading.
It is. the
Number
first reading.
6 does not say first reading.
Yeah, this is the first time we've seen this ordinance about the
This is an order.
county, yeah. So it is, I guess.
Thank you.
first reading.
Yeah, this is a first reading, correct?
Okay, never mind.
All right, we just didn't label it that way, Sorry about that. but we'll have the second reading next, unless you need it right away.
We can wait. I'll leave that to you guys. We could wait. Yes.
All right.
Okay. Sorry for the confusion. Chief, will that work for you with the time schedule?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Next item,
Item number 7, Bill 3014, an ordinance fixing the annual rate of tax levy for 2023 on all property within the city of Olivet, providing for the extension of said taxes on the books of the collector by the county clerk and providing for the collection thereof. First reading.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. We have the unfortunate business of tax rates for their first reading today. We can see as anybody knows that owns a home here or anywhere really, valuations are up, and so that means tax rates are down. We also know inflation is up, which will increase those. The tax rates will go down, but the tax bills, of course, will be going up. So we'll have some graphs, we'll have a couple charts on where we've been. Just a rough gauge. One of the more better spots we've seen is the commercial valuations are improving, which has not been the case over the last several years. We have not received our post Board of Equalization valuations quite yet. I just checked today, they're not quite there. But so I would expect some fade in the valuations, which means they're going to go down a little bit and the tax rates will go up ever so slightly. But we'll see when those are done. Have our public notice out there. We'll have a public hearing in 2 weeks and we'll discuss a little further, but that's all I have for tonight, unless we have any questions or if there's any certain piece of information you'd like to see to bring next week or in 2 weeks.
are there any questions? Thank you, Mr. Mann.
Thank you.
Next item,
Item number 8, resolution 2023-243, endorsing St. Louis County's grant program for the city's waste reduction efforts.
Evening again, Madam Mayor.
Apologize. So this is a grant application for St. Louis County Municipal Waste Reduction Program, which the city did use last year. It was applied for by the Parks Department, though. We're again doing, as you've seen on the calendar, October 20th will be the Great Olivet Clean Out once again. So the police department will be partnering with the Parks Department again for several hours of electronics recycling and shredding. So e-waste and paper shredding, which will all go to the recycling companies. So this grant application requests reimbursement of the city's expenses to hire the companies for the shred event, and also reimbursement for payment for employees who are working the event. And also I did leave out on there, it does cover promotions for the event itself. So this has been a very popular day with Olivet in the past. I think people really look forward to this and getting rid of some things. I have one thing in my office that is waiting for this day also. So again, if there's any other questions, I'm happy to answer those, but I would just ask the city council to approve resolution 2023-243 to authorize the city manager to sign and execute the contract accepting grant funds from the St. Louis County Department of Public Health if awarded.
I'll just quickly go so moved, just so we can go on.
So.
Yeah.
Second.
Call for the vote.
That's what I just.
Oh, are there any other questions?
Since he did such a great job of reading the. I just thought I'd capitalize.
Are there any comments or questions? Do they shred on site?
Yes, they do.
Okay, very good. Okay. If there aren't any questions, we'll call for the vote.
Councilmember Clark,
Yes.
Councilmember Carl,
Yes,
Chairman Pro Tem Waldman,
Yes.
Mayor Weil,
Yes,
motion is passed.
Now, if
Thank
I
you.
could follow up with one last question. The televisions, you know, if you got a certain tube or you got a certain something, you've got to pay. In the past, there's times when you've had to pay, and I don't know where that will go because we are asking this based upon what we may get. When that happens, could you let us know whether there is a fee for particular TVs and things that get dropped off?
Yes, I can definitely let you know. So with the e-waste company that we've talked to, there hasn't been any mention of the fee. No, there's a limit of 2 items per vehicle. So, but if there is any type of fee, we can definitely let you know and put that on the advertisements. So, yep.
I believe that 2 items per vehicle is new, so that would need to be on the promotional
I
advertisement.
should have about 5 TVs.
2 screens.
My neighbors.
Okay,
Yeah, we'll clarify. We have a few, it's in the application, but yeah, we'll clarify and just let
Okay.
you know. Yeah.
great, thank you. Next item, please.
Item number 9, MoDOT Greenway TAP Supplemental Agreement.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council members, and
Good evening.
esteemed colleagues. Bruce McGregor, Olivet Public Works Director. This agenda item was the last minute addition that had mysteriously oscillated on and off the agenda center as we were working through the background here, but I assure you it was prepared well in advance of the meeting. And just to clarify, this is a supplement to the Transportation Alternatives Program grant for the Centennial Greenway for construction between Dealman Road and Warson Park. So this is the one that goes through Indian Meadows Park. If you'll recall, we applied for this grant back in 2021 with the intent that if awarded, Great Ruse Greenway would be our financial partner on the project, and the grant was awarded. And we subsequently formed an agreement with GRG that we would be sort of a subrecipient of funds with them partnering the project with us. This summer, something wonderful happened at East West Gateway, and I think it was a function of some additional funds that were obligated but not being utilized at the time of analysis. And the commission had decided to increase the grant participation rate. Which means anytime you get a grant, they do a calculation. They say it's either 80-20 or 60-40 or 50-50. We had a particular rate at the time of award of 27.8% participation, not to exceed $1 million. With the recent adjustment, they are proposing to us to go to a 50% match up to $1 million. So that's great news for us on the project, that we will get a higher participation rate. I'd be glad to answer any questions about it. Project, I can tell you we have received bids, and we are currently in the concurrence of award due diligence process with the state, with the lowest bidders.
Are there any questions? Chairman Pro Tem?
Mr. McGregor, is this part of the $1 million grant money that was received for this project through Indian Meadows?
I'm not aware of any other grant other than the TAP grant that was awarded in 2021. And that way it was always $1 million. It just has to do with the participation rate to get the funds.
Okay. I think I'm not sure. I'm a little bit confused because there was a point when in order to get whatever funding that was $1 million, they needed some documentation from the trustees of Indian Meadows. So I was wondering whether this was a different pot of money or the same pot of money for this trail, for this project.
There may have been some research on the ownership and use of the park as part of the application process.
I will allow the city to go and look and just double check for me whether this is part of the funding that was.
Are you speaking about the easement part in the back?
No, I'm talking about the actual improvements in the pathway through Indian Meadows into Orson Park that we ended up with a $1 million grant funding. And part of that required acknowledgement approval by the trustees of Indian Meadows. So I was just wondering whether that was the same thing.
I mean, there may have been a letter of support. I wasn't involved in the grant writing process for the project. So I mean, it is very much tied to Indian Meadows subdivision going through Indian Meadows Park. We've had extensive dialogue, but I can't speak to
So,
exactly what.
You know,
this is the supplemental agreement, right?
This is the
Because
supplemental agreement.
GRG has revised the formula in the city's favor. So this spring, did you approve the initial agreement?
No, the original agreement for the grant, the Transportation Alternatives Grant, was done in July of 2021.
2021, but the improvements have not been done yet.
No
Okay.
improvements, no
So
work has been done
I
other than
think
engineering
Mayor Pro
design.
Tem, what you're referring to is that initial agreement in 2021. And because it's a federal project, there are a lot of hoops to jump through. So the improvements have not been done. And then this opportunity to be reimbursed more
Right, at a
than
higher
what we had, at a
participation
higher
rate.
participation rate than what originally the city had agreed to in 2021 came across. And so we have this supplemental agreement. So I think the answer to your question is this is the same project. You're welcome.
Are there any other questions? Thank you. So our action would be to,
Madam Mayor, I make a motion to
Chris Shaw.
authorize the city manager to execute a supplemental agreement with the Missouri Highway and Transportation Commission to increase the TAP 5627 parentheses 606 parentheses federal participation rate to 50%.
Second.
call for the vote?
Councilmember Clark,
Yes.
Councilmember Carl,
Yes.
Chairman Pro Tem Waldman,
Yes.
Mayor Weil,
Yes.
motion is passed.
I'd also like to draw attention to if anyone has had an opportunity to drive underneath the bridge, that the painting is also going up and it looks really classy.
It looks sharp, doesn't
It's
it?
very sharp. So on the south side of the 170 bridge, underneath it, as you go down, as you go east on Olive, they've started painting and it will announce that this is part of the Centennial Greenway. So it's really exciting. Thank you. Next item, please.
Item 10, CDBG 1250 Dealman Trail Contract.
Welcome back.
Yes, keeping on the theme of community trails. This project is to utilize our 2 years of community development block grant funds to continue our goal to connect the city center to the Centennial Greenway at the Napoleon Crossing. So this is step 2 of 3, possibly 4 little hops to get to continue north. As if you recall, back in 2021, we constructed the crosswalk at Dealman Industrial in advance of this project so that we could do all the concrete work at once. And so this project will only be asphalt paving. We received 3 bids for the work, and we have 2 years of funding. It is over the funding amount that we have coming from community development from the block grant, but we have funds in our capital improvement program to complete the project balance.
Are there any questions regarding the CDBG? Okay, I'll be happy to entertain a motion.
Madam Mayor, I motion to authorize the city manager to execute a community development block grant contract not to exceed $46,291.25 with Byrne and Jones Construction to construct the asphalt trail and curb ramps.
Yes.
Am I in the wrong place?
Nope, you're right.
Mhm.
Second,
Second.
next, call for the vote.
Councilmember Clark,
Yes.
Councilmember Carl,
Yes.
Chairman Pro Tem Waldman,
Yes.
Mayor Weil.
Yes.
Motion is passed.
Next item, please.
Item 11, Public Works Shed Roof Contract.
Okay, third time's a charm.
So as many of you I have recently found out did not know that attached to the Public Works building is an outside open storage shed where we can back trucks and vehicles and equipment into to keep out of the elements. And that roof, well, outdates my tenure with the city and possibly some of our employees. We've put a number, if you can see in the picture here, a number of Band-Aids on the roof. And I will just say it's time to remove the roof. And the material we're proposing to use is the same as what we put on this building, a TPO material. It goes after they remove the existing asphalt material, they put down a base sheet that acts as a little bit of a cushion for the roofing material. And then they put down the welded TPO white roofing material on top. It is a very good value for the life cycle of the material.
Great. Are there any questions concerning the roof at the shed? Yes.
It's a construction question, Bruce. The walls of this garage
Mhm.
are safe and structurally sound. We're just dealing with removing the roof and replacing the roof.
Yes, so the foundation is poured concrete and the
Mhm.
parapets coming up that's the little part that extends
Mhm.
our CMU block. A few years ago, our staff pulled off the concrete paving type stones that covered it. They were sort of really deteriorated. We pulled those off and we put on a heavy gauge metal to cover the top. That's that green material. If you drive by and see it over a wood framing material, we filled the cores of the block solid with concrete, everything stable. Over there, the foundation's in good shape. We don't know if we'll encounter some bad plywood. I would guess it's safe to say we're going to have to replace a few sheets under there, given the age and the condition of the roof, but that's with any project.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone like to make a motion?
Madam Mayor, I
Thank
make
you.
a motion to authorize the city manager to enter into agreement not to exceed $15,290 with BP Roofing to replace the Public Works building outside storage shed roof. Second.
Call for the vote.
Councilmember Clark,
Yes.
Councilmember Carl,
Yes.
Chairman Pro Tem Waldman,
Yes.
Mayor Weil.
Yes,
The motion is passed.
Thank you.
thank you. Next item, please.
Item 12, vending services agreement, 5 Oaks on Warson.
Evening, Mayor. Good evening, council members. Patrick McGee, the Assistant Director of the Parks and Recreation Department. We issued an RFP for our vending services and we received 2 qualified bids through our process that met our qualifications, and it is our suggestion, a recommendation to authorize the city manager to enter in a contract for 5 Oaks on Warson vending services with Evenco LLC for a 24-month term. I'm happy to answer any questions that pertain to that as well.
Are there any questions? Chairman Pro Tem?
Has anybody used this firm before in any of their careers within Parks and Rec?
Yes, they actually have vending machines at Lambert Airport, Umsel, and in St. Charles County.
Thank you, sir.
And what kind of items are in the vending machines?
We'll have a mix of food and beverages, and there'll be some healthy options as well that we're requesting be stocked in there.
Great. Are there any other questions to my left? Okay, I'll be happy to entertain a motion.
Madam Mayor, I move that we authorize the city manager to enter into a contract for 5 Oaks on Warson vending services with Evenco LLC for a 24-month term.
Second.
Next, call for the vote.
Councilmember Clark,
Yes.
Councilmember Carl,
Yes.
Chairman Pro Tem Waldman,
Yes.
Mayor Weil,
Yes,
motion is passed.
thank you. Next item.
Item 13, janitorial services contract, 5 Oaks on Warson.
Hello again, Patrick McGee, Assistant Director of the Parks and Recreation. After issuing RFPs for janitorial services at 5 Oaks, we had 4 submittals that met our criteria and ultimately decided to recommend Simply Sunshine Cleaning. We would recommend to authorize the city manager to enter in a contract for 5 Oaks on Warson janitorial services with Simply Sunshine Cleaning for a 24-month term.
Are there any
Happy to answer
questions?
questions about that as well? Excuse me?
I'm gonna go-
Cost on it, 24 months.
So
Ask your question
Down
again.
below.
I'm sorry, was there it's 24-month contract? How do they charge on this? How's it
how do they charge by each month?
by each month? What was the charge?
You can't see it on the screen.
I can't see it on my screen. That's the only reason why I'm asking.
$45,216.79
Per month?
for the fiscal 24 operating budget year.
I was gonna say, I'm in the wrong
you.
field. God, yeah. Okay, thank you. That was my only question.
Councilmember Carl?
I don't have any questions.
Oh, but your mic's on.
I'm ready to make a
Oh.
motion if necessary.
I do have a
Chairman Pro
follow-up.
Tem.
I do have a follow-up because what
Please.
I didn't hear, which is where I thought you were going, was that it was for a 24-month term with 3 optional 12-month extensions. So I want to talk about those extensions just a little bit. It's 1 year if we want to extend, okay. Another year if we want to extend, okay. Another year. It's not after 24 months, we're extending 3 years. Correct? Do I have that correct? Okay. Maybe do you not have that on your piece of paper?
Yeah, I believe that is correct.
Yes, the key thing to think about is its options.
Sure.
We have yet to have a cleaning company that has successfully cleared 3 renewals.
Yeah, okay. Fair
But,
enough.
but if there is satisfactory service and they're doing a great job, then we will roll it over.
Okay.
It behooves us to do so because it saves us money, because it locks us in at that price.
Mhm,
However, we'll see. It's a new building. We will have very high expectations.
Sure,
Yeah.
sure. Thank you for that clarification.
Sure.
Much appreciated. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. I'll be happy to entertain a motion.
All right, I make a motion that we authorize the city manager to enter into a contract for 5 Oaks on Warson janitorial services with Simply Sunshine LLC for a 24-month term with 3 optional 12-month extensions.
Second,
Second,
call for the vote.
Councilmember Clark,
Yes.
Councilmember Carl,
Yes.
Chairman Pro Tem Waldman,
Yes.
Mayor Weil.
Yes,
Motion is passed.
thank you. Next item,
I have item 14, appointment of PCDC member.
Madam Mayor, I will tee this up as the liaison of the Planning and Community Design Commission. And I believe Ms. Ragsdale is outside waiting for this moment. So if she is, please join us. Madam Mayor, as you mentioned, this has been a very tough month and a half. Losing 3 young gentlemen and a longtime Planning and Community Design Commission member suddenly. As a result, it is necessary for this position to be filled. And at this point in time, I would like to nominate Ms. Laura Ragsdale, a longtime resident. This is not, she's a residential representative, the same way that Ms. Jody Rich was a residential representative. And I would like to nominate her to take the replacement of the time and term. I'm not sure what the term was for Ms. Rich, whether she's got 1 or 2 years left or whatever, but for the remainder of the term of the position that became available due to the loss of our good friend Jody Rich.
I believe it is a 2 years out of 3 that are left.
Okay, so it would be
We'll
for the
have to
remaining
check on
term,
that.
not for a 3-year term.
The remaining.
I think Director Trejo may be able to provide some enlightenment.
Commissioner Rich was appointed last year, so this term is 4 years
Oh, cool.
and it's till June 2026.
Okay, until June of 2026, I'd like to appoint a new residential representative, Miss Laura Ragsdale. That's my recommendation.
Are there any questions for either the Chairman Pro Tem, who's the liaison to the PCDC, or Ms. Ragsdale, who has joined us?
I have a question. If I may, I'd like to hear from you. As to why you believe you would be good for this appointment and how you would benefit the city. I have not had a chance to work with you. And I just want to know and hear from you why you think you would be a good appointment to this position.
Hi, I'm Laura Ragsdale. My address is 40 Queensbrook Place, Olivet. I believe in development. I have been a lifelong member of this community. I was born and raised here in Olivet. I lived in the former neighborhood known as the Northeast Quadrant growing up. It's where my husband and I started our family. And then we moved to Queensbrook about a little over 2 years ago now. I've always supported development. I would love to see the city grow and get some new things. I have gone out this past weekend, took flyers around, knocked on some doors, asking people north of Olive to respond to the survey after attending the work session and them saying that, hey, we need more people north of Olive. I'm willing to do the work. I don't mind talking to people. I talk every day, all day long. I'm a school teacher. I teach middle school. I'm used to people telling me no. It's okay. I listen to all sides. I think I'm fair, level-headed, have a good sense of judgment. It's just kind of me in a nutshell.
Thank you. Thank you.
Anything
Thank you.
else?
Well, I'll follow up with this. I appreciate my Councilmember Waldman's judgment. She was able to pick out some pretty good people to represent this council. One of them was me. So I trust her judgment. And I I'm hoping that you'll do as good as she believes that you will.
Thank you. I've known Councilmember Waldman for probably over 20 years now. And one of her favorite things that she always says, like through development, is we want to be a drive to Olivet, not drive through, right? So that's what we need. And I'm excited about the development that's happening. I know I don't live down behind, like I used to live behind Chevy's. And I know I'm not right there anymore, but I go down Olive all the time and drive through just to see the progress, even though I'm on the other end. I go out of my way now just to drive so I can see what's happening. So I'm excited about it.
Thank you. I would like to clarify that it wasn't Chairman Pro Tem Waldman who just picked her out. There was an application process we went through. Anyone who has applied for a PCDC position over the last 3 to 4 years and looked through all of those as well. So it wasn't just being tapped by this.
No, she didn't pull it out of her hat, but it was a suggestion based on the data that was already taken in. So if I wasn't clear, I apologize.
No, it's okay.
Yes, please call for the vote.
Or I don't know, Paul, accept the nomination of
You need to
Ms.
just-
Ragsdale?
You could make a motion.
Need to make a motion.
Right.
Thank you, sir.
Motion,
Thank you.
not vote.
Okay, I move and motion that we appoint Miss Laura Ragsdale to the open position of resident representative on the Planning and Community Design Commission for the remainder of the term that was for Miss Jody Rich.
Second.
Call for the vote now.
Councilmember Clark,
Yes.
Councilmember Carl,
Yes.
Chairman Pro Tem Waldman,
Yes.
Mayor Weil,
Yes,
motion is passed.
welcome aboard and we look forward to working with you.
Thank you.
Next item,
Item 15, hearing from citizens, part 2.
is there anyone else that would like to speak tonight or speak again? Okay, with that said, we will move on to the next item.
Item 16, review and approval of minutes.
I saw no mistakes or errors or anything that needed to be corrected on either minute.
Madam Mayor, I make a motion that we approve the minutes from council meeting on October 22nd, excuse me. August 22nd, 2023, and the work session minutes from September 5th, 2023.
Is there a second?
Second.
Call for the vote?
Councilmember Clark,
Yes.
Councilmember Carl,
Yes.
Chairman Pro Tem Waldman,
Yes.
Mayor Weil,
Yes,
motion is passed.
thank you. Next item,
Item 17, city attorney's report.
Thank you, Mayor. Council and Mayor, you're probably aware of the recent passage of section 304.822 of the revised statutes of Missouri. And it is a somewhat improvement. Legislature has elected to try to improve its regulation of the use of cell phones while you're in your car or while you're driving a car. A few years ago, they banned texting for kids, but not adults. And the legislation did not allow for a primary stop if they found someone who was texting while driving. It wasn't very effective. This time around, it's still not very effective. I regret to say. The legislation does address manually holding or using your phone to talk, text, or email. Hands-free is okay, but not if you are manually holding your phone. There are exceptions. One is reporting an emergency. One big one is using the phone for navigation purposes, and one other one, which is a little confusing to me, is using the phone for accessing or listening to audio broadcasts. So don't quite understand that one at all, but those are the exceptions. The law provides that a law enforcement officer can stop a driver for an observable violation. But here's where the law kind of goes south. It provides specifically that the officer cannot require the driver to produce the phone for a search. And it allows search warrants for the search of these devices only if a serious injury or death is caused by an observable violation. So that really restricts what the police can do to effectively enforce a texting ban or a talking while driving ban. The legislation also, I just had it here. Includes a preemption paragraph, which reads, the state preempts the field of regulating the use of electronic communication devices by the operators of commercial and non-commercial motor vehicles, period. The provisions of this section shall supersede any local laws, ordinances, orders, rules, or regulations enacted by a county, municipality, or other political subdivision to regulate the use of electronic communication devices by the operator of a commercial or non-commercial motor vehicle. And the state doesn't often, the legislature doesn't often preempt the field of regulation when it comes to things like this, especially motor vehicle regulation. But nonetheless, they have done so in this instance. And what that means is basically that you cannot pass an ordinance that mirrors these provisions and allows the local enforcement of an ordinance violation. We have to live with the statute by itself, and our police officers can ticket for violating the provisions of this statute, but it has to be under the statute and it has to be through state court, which is also an impediment to effective enforcement because it is such a challenge to effectively prosecute a small case under a state statute and have to go down to Clayton to do it. The law is in effect now. Officers can give warnings until January 1, 2025. I should say they may not write tickets until January 1, 2025. They can give warnings until then. But that's it. There's really nothing we can do, and it's something of an improvement. I guess it makes a statement about the dangers of texting while driving, but it certainly isn't extremely effective. And I'll just point out that I don't think I was clear about this. With an exception for navigation and without any means by which the officer can check the phone after a stop, the driver, if he's texting or talking or whatever he may be doing that might be in violation of the statute, all he has to say is, well, I was using it for navigation. And the officer can say, well, can I see the phone? The officer actually has to tell the driver that they're not obligated to show it to him. But could I see it anyway? And the driver can obviously say, no, I don't think so. So anyway, it's a disappointment. It's better than nothing, I suppose, but the city's hands are tied. We can't do anything about it.
Thank you. I understand we need a closed session tonight.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry about that. Attorney-client communications, please. It should be brief.
610.021.1 according to the agenda, yes. Okay. Great. Are we there yet?
Madam
We are.
All right,
Mayor, I'll make a motion that we go to a closed session pursuant to Missouri Revised Statute 610.021.1.
Second.
Thank you. Thank you for everyone that joined us. Oh, call for the vote.
Councilmember Clark,
Yes.
Councilmember Carl,
Yes.
Chairman Pro Tem Waldman,
Yes.
Mayor Weil.
Yes.
Motion is passed. Council will move into executive session.
Thank you. Oh, we're not adjourned. We're just going to close session. I didn't mean to hit the gavel. Thank you, everyone, for